Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be ranking all of V.E. Schwab's books. So, I am not going to be ranking the comics, and also I do not own City of Ghosts or Tunnel of Bones because I listen to the audiobooks, so these will have to do. And also the Archived and the Unbound is combined in the Dark Vault, so the Dark Vault is going to stand for the Archived and this is going to stand for the Unbound. So thank you Percy Jackson for being some fill-ins. I originally did this with Cassandra Clare books and I will leave that linked so you can check that out if you want. But I knew instantly that I wanted to do it with V.E. Schwab, but at that point I think I still had to read The Near Witch and maybe The Unbound, I'm not sure. But I knew as soon as I finished that I would want to do this. And just like with the Cassandra Clare one, honestly, do I have reasoning for this? Not really, is the answer. I love them all so much. That is the first thing that I have to say. I absolutely adore V.E. Schwab. She's my favorite author. And I cannot wait for Addie LaRue to come out. These are all just my personal opinions. And to be honest, this was way more difficult than the Cassandra Clare ones because I think I have very distinct like 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars. Whereas every V.E. Schwab book is between a 4 and a 5 star really. We're gonna get right into this. And yeah, I don't know where I'm gonna stack them. I guess I'll put them on my hand until it gets too heavy. That might be a bad idea. Yeah, so there's 15 books here beside me. I'm going to rank all 3 of the first ones together because they come in a bind-up, and that is the Everyday Collection by Victoria Schwab. I read these originally on audiobook and they're actually really sweet stories. I'm actually going to hold it like this because the third story is number 15, the second story in this is number 14, and the first story is number 13. I gave the first book in here a 4 out of 5 stars, and I gave the second and third one a 3 out of 5 stars. And these are middle grade stories. They follow a guardian angel called Aria. I still have the price tag on here. And she can like use her shadow as a door, and basically she is kind of guided towards these girls that she has to help. So there's 3 different girls and they are there, and if she succeeds in helping them, she earns her wings. It is a really cute middle grade story, and while I was reading it, I was just like, I knew that I wasn't the age demographic, but reading them actually made me quite like, it really did like hit me in the heart because I was like, I needed these stories when I was about like 10ish or whatever. Like, they're such good stories for a young audience and they have some really important messages, and I really wish that I had them when I was younger. So those are 15, 14 and 13. Then number 12 on this, which is a 4-star book, so still a good book, is Victoria Schwab's, or V.E. Schwab's very first novel, which was The Near Witch. It has beautiful sprayed edges. Like, it honestly deserves a couple points just for that. But this follows a girl called Lexi, and she lives in a town called Near. And in this town called Near, it is a very close-knit community, and she is one of them, and suddenly a stranger appears, and people are immediately uneasy about this. And then the next day, children start to go missing from their beds, and obviously suspicion immediately falls on this new stranger. But Lexi doesn't believe that it's that easy, and she believes that it could be a bedtime story come to life. I did actually really like this. It is a very atmospheric, and I did really like the magic and the world and the characters, but you can see that it's her first work. It's not as strong as her others. The characters they're a bit basic. I think they aren't very complex characters. I still really enjoy this story. I do think that it is a great story. And I think if you are a V.E. Schwab fan and you're kind of putting this off because you're like, I don't think I will enjoy it. It's her first book and I've heard not so great things. But give it a try and just keep your expectations low going in and you might find a bit of enjoyment in there. That is number 12. Moving on to number 11 is going to be City of Ghosts. As I said, I listened to the audiobook of this. It is another one of her middle grade series. It follows Cassidy Blake and she can see ghosts, and this happened after a near-death experience. And she has like a best ghost friend and she loves to take pictures and she can kind of walk through the veil. And it follows her as her parents are ghost hunters. They can't actually see ghosts, but they kind of claim to be able to sense them and stuff. but her parents have been offered to do a TV show and they're going to the most haunted places on the planet. And Cassidy, of course, has to tag along and gets herself into a lot of trouble. It is such a good story. I was so surprised how much I loved it because I was like, it's middle grade. I don't really read a lot of middle grade, which I do want to try and read more middle grades. Again, I'm thinking if I was a, like, I don't know what age middle grades actually for. Like, I don't know, 10-ish? I'll go with 10. If I was like a 10-year-old and I read this story, I would be so freaked out. I am a bit of a chicken anyway, but like it is supposed to be like a bit creepy. But so I would have been like really creeped out, and I suppose that is kind of what the point is. And even like as an adult, I was like, this has such a like creepy dark atmosphere, and it is so good. And again, it is a 4 out of 5 stars, and I really loved it, and I really recommend it. Even if you're like, it's middle grade, I don't want to read it, give it a go. It is so good. So book number 10 is going to be The Archived. This is a story following Mackenzie Bishop. So she is a keeper, and so basically her job is when people die, they are now called histories, and their bodies are basically put in this archive. And the librarians can read your body and like get your knowledge and all of your memories and all of that. But every so often, a history wakes up, and it is up to the job of the keepers to make sure that they don't get out into the real world. In this story, things start going wrong at the archive, and Mackenzie is trying to stop it. Such a good story. I'm always shocked with all of her earlier stuff because I always think I'm not going to enjoy it as much, but I always end up loving them, and this was no exception. It was such a unique premise, and just Mackenzie as a character was so interesting, and the friends she makes and the relationship she has with her parents, and it's just all so amazing. Number 9 is a 4.5 stars, and that is the sequel to City of Ghosts, which is Tunnel of Bones. I absolutely adore them so much. They're so good, and I can't wait for the third one. I think it's Bridge of Souls, I think it's called. The first one takes place in Edinburgh, and then the second one, it takes place in Paris, and so they're like going into the catacombs and all that, and I'm like, ooh, for someone who sees ghosts, pretty sure that's not a good idea. And all of the same things that I said about the first one also apply to the second one, but also a small bit better. Also, her friend Jacob is just, I love him. He's so good. Number 8 is going to be Vengeful. So Vengeful is the sequel to Vicious. It takes place 5 years afterwards, I think, the original one. It follows our original people that we met in the first book, but we're also introduced to some new characters like Marcella Briggins and a woman called June. I love this world and I love these characters so much, and it's so interesting. I liked the new characters that were introduced, but really for me, the thing that I enjoyed the most was the old characters, getting to see them again. I love them so much. There's kind of a found family aspect in the story that I really love. Yeah, I felt pretty much the same about Vicious and Vengeful, but I prefer Vicious slightly more. They are both really good, and a lot of people don't like Vengeful as much as they like Vicious, but I think they're both really great books. So then book number 7, another 4.5 stars, is The Unbound, which is the sequel to The Archived. Again, they're both combined in here. So The Unbound is the sequel. It follows all of the fallout of The Archived, and I enjoyed it a lot more. The first one, The Archived, it did take me a small bit to get into it, but once I got into it, I really loved it. Whereas The Unbound, I was hooked straight away. There's a development of a relationship in there, and she also starts school, so she kind of meets more people. I want a third one so badly. I know she's kind of talked about it in the past, being like she could make a third one, but it's never happened. Please make it happen. Number 6 on this ranking is going to be Vicious, the first book in the Villains Duology, trilogy. I think there's going to be a third one. So this follows Victor and Eli. They are university roommates. Eli decides to do a thesis on extraordinaries, which are this theory that there's people out there who have superpowers. He figures out it happens because people have near-death experiences. So him and Victor then decide, let's kill each other and revive each other and try and get superpowers. And things go pretty wrong, and then 10 years later, Victor is getting out of prison. Let's just say he wants to reunite with an old friend. I love it so much. Again, found family aspect is so great in this. I love Victor and Eli, and just getting to look inside their minds and see how they tick. You know, it is so interesting and so fascinating. I know Vicious is a lot of people's favorite V.E. Schwab book. It's a lot of people's favorite book. But for me, I just didn't get that 5-star feeling. It's another 4.5 star for me. I think it might have been because I had put so much expectation on it. And I do have a feeling when I reread it in the future, I will definitely love it. And I might give it a 5-star then. But I just felt that there was something missing, and I have no idea what it was, but I think it might have just been because I had overhyped it in my mind and I had given it unrealistic expectations. Okay, I'm going putting these down because they're heavy. Number 4 is Our Dark Duet. This is the second book in the Monsters of Barishi duology. This is a 5-star book for me. This is one of her YA series. This is the sequel to The Savage Song, and I love it so much. So it takes place about 6 months after the first book. The world is in chaos and Kate and August are trying to fix it. And I love it so much. This world is so interesting. The monsters and how they're formed. I may have gotten a small bit emotional at the end. I didn't cry, but I was so worried the whole way through. Number 4 on this list is A Conjuring of Light. This is the final book in the Shades of Magic series. I love this series. It is one of my favorite series. I haven't read it in a while. I haven't read it in like over a year. So I kind of don't know what way I would rate them. Like the rest of these books I've all read this year. I'm not sure if my feelings have changed on the Shades of Magic series. I don't think they will have. But I'm planning a reread soon and I'm so excited and so nervous for it. Kel and Lila are just 2 of my favorite characters just ever. Full stop. And I love them so much. This magic, this world, just everything about it I love and adore. I'm just like struggling with words, aren't I? Like my brain is turning to mush during this video. I had formed thoughts. And then number 3 on this list is A Gathering Shadows, which is the second book in the Shades of Magic series. I really adore this as well. As I said, it's another 5-star. This whole series, it was the first adult series I read. It all kind of has a very special place in my heart because it was something new and different, and I was hooked from the moment I started it. And I'm so glad I read these series, and I've read all of these. They're so great. I love her. Number 2 is going to be The Savage Song, which is the first book in the Monsters of Verity series. The Monsters of Verity follows Kate Harker and August Flynn. In this world, if a human commits violence, like killing someone or whatever, they create a monster by doing this. And this world is starting to become overrun, and this city is now split in 2. So it follows Kate Harker and August Flynn. Kate Harker is the daughter of the leader of one of these sides, and she is a human girl, but she wants to be as deadly and as ruthless as her father is. And then we also follow August. He is one of these monsters who has been created. He can use music to kind of bring someone's soul to the surface, and he is kind of the adopted son of the other leader, and all August wants is to be like human and to be as kind as his adopted father. And so it just kind of explores that not all monsters are so monstrous, and you know, humans can be the real monsters. August is one of my favorite characters ever. Full stop. I absolutely adore him. I love you, you precious cinnamon roll. I will protect you forever. When I finished this, I was just like, I loved it. I was like, I must pick up the next one. I must. But then I couldn't because I was doing a readathon, so I couldn't pick it up straight away. And I was just, oh, so good. I loved it. There's just the friendship in here, the like family relationships, all of it is so good. That leaves one more book to place on the top of this beautiful, glorious stack. That was a bad idea. And that is, of course, the first book in the Shades of Magic series, A Darker Shade of Magic. As I've said with the other 2, this was the first adult book I read. This was the first book by V.E. Schwab I read. I think it really just has a special place in my heart because of that. Also, this cover is so freaking dirty. I read it and, you know, exams were coming up and it was just such a great escape. I was hooked from the very first line. Kel wore a very peculiar coat. I immediately fell in love. Kel is one of my favorite main characters of all time. Lila, one of my favorite female characters of all time. Kel and Rye's like brotherly relationship is so great, and the romantic relationships are so great. The magic is great. The worlds are great. It's so interesting. This follows Kel. He's an Antari. There's 4 Londons. Black London, which no longer exists. White London, which is slowly becoming corrupted by the powers of Black London. Red London, which lives a perfectly balanced kind of life where there's a good bit of magic but also kind of a good bit of like normalcy. And then there's Grey London, which is our London. Because of being split off from these other Londons, it no longer has access to any magic. At one point, all of these Londons, you could kind of walk into any of them, but now they're all closed off and only an Antari, a person who can do blood magic, can open them. Kel is the only Antari in Red London, and so he is kind of given the jobs to correspond with Grey London and with White London. And he also has a bit of a side job of smuggling some stuff that he perhaps shouldn't be. And when he accidentally smuggles the wrong thing, the whole world is put in pretty great danger. I love it. And I'm going to be rereading it. Actually, by the time this video is going up, I'm probably going to be finished rereading it. And hopefully I love it as much as I did the first time. Ooh, that would not be good if it didn't. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue is coming out in October, and I am so excited to get it. And I pre-ordered the special edition from Waterstones, which is so beautiful. Also, something I noticed is almost all of her books, I prefer the first book to the sequel, which is weird. B. Schwab, my favorite author. I totally recommend you check her out. If you haven't, like, please do it. I know a lot of people, her writing isn't for them because I think some people think that it's like very kind of blunt and straight to the point, which I quite like. But I recommend you check her out if you haven't. So that is the end of ranking my V. Schwab. Can I hold these all up? Can I hold these all up? Can I get them in frame? There we go. So number 15 to number 1. Tell me who you want to see me rank next. No! Oh my god, save. I haven't read a lot of authors' whole works. I'm thinking of doing Leigh Bardugo. I know she doesn't have too many books, but I guess it would just be kind of a short video. And also Marissa Meyer. I only have to read Heartless by her and then I'll have read like everything. Tell me like who your favorite author is and I will try and read their books. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed this awkward attempt at a video. Stan V. Schwab, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.